Welcome to another episode of Weather or Not. It is our weekly weather streaming show right here exclusively on WHAS 11+. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell alongside meteorologists Matthew Willoughby, John Gordon, and Austin Evans. Thanks for joining us for week number 8, guys. It's our 8th episode here of Weather or Not. Obviously, we've had a lot going on here at home. We've had some snowflakes. We've had the Aurora.
It's been a crazy week.
Yeah, we're going to get to. But we mentioned at the end of last show that this show, our one big thing, was going to be the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And John, I know you have a lot to talk about on this topic. But if you're like me and you had limited knowledge on it, we're going to start off with a great story put together by our sister station up in Toledo, WTOL. So let's take a listen.
Out beyond the point there, we were taking water 6 feet high right across our deck.
They were right in the section with the max wind speed and the max wave height, so just the worst of all possible outcomes, essentially.
The last time I talked with him, he said he was holding his own.
November 10th, 1975, the day that changed Great Lakes history. To understand and recreate the historic storm that ultimately sunk the Edmund Fitzgerald, I visited the archives at the BGSU Jerome Library, the only place that houses official weather records from the long-closed National Weather Service here in Toledo and handwritten ship logs. This page right here says November 9th, 1975.
Correct, the day before the sinking, and as you can see, even in Lake Erie, it was a very calm day.
Mark Sprang, an archivist who has spent years studying Great Lakes history, has uncovered original weather observation logs from other ships that fateful night. What he's found reveals just how quickly conditions deteriorated.
It was just the complete wrong combination of circumstances. The speed of the storm, the weather reports weren't always keeping up fast enough for how fast the conditions were changing.
The Fitzgerald smoothly set sail from near Duluth on the morning of November 9th. At 2:39 p.m., a gale warning was issued. Captain McSorley knew the storm was coming. The Fitzgerald and her sister ship, the Arthur M. Anderson, had altered course.
They went along the north shore of Lake Superior because that's where the wind was initially coming from, and then it shifted completely the other way, so they were completely exposed.
Conditions deteriorated quickly on the morning of November 10th.
We get to 2909 by 2:30 on the 10th, so that's a huge change.
In modern meteorology, we have a term for such rapid intensification, a bomb cyclone. The pressure drop measured at Sault Ste. Marie was incredible, and it happened faster than anyone expected.
You could see these rapid drops in pressure, rapid increases in wind speed, wave height, especially from some of these stations on the east end of Lake Superior, because that meant the wind had the whole length of the lake to grow those waves.
These lake weather bulletins were radioed between captains, creating a real-time network of weather observations across all 5 Great Lakes. Crucial weather data for the times. At 2 a.m. on November 10th, the storm was rapidly gathering strength. The gale warning was upgraded to a more dire storm warning. The storm center passing just over eastern Lake Superior just after daybreak. By 2:30 that afternoon, according to ship logs on the Great Lakes, conditions had become extreme. Winds over 60 miles per hour, gusts to hurricane force, and 20-foot waves were reported, easily high enough to wash over the decks of loaded freighters.
And they're right there where the X is, right on the edge of the purple, which is the worst place to be.
The Arthur M. Anderson, a 767-foot iron ore carrier, had been traveling in tandem with the Fitzgerald through the voyage and through the worst of the storm. The two ships were in constant radio contact as the conditions worsened. Captain Cooper, watching his radar screen, could see the Fitzgerald about 10 to 15 miles ahead. At approximately 7:10 on November 10th, Captain Cooper made contact one final time. McSorley's voice crackled through the storm. "We are holding our own." Those would be the last words anyone would ever hear from the Edmund Fitzgerald. Minutes later, at the peak of the storm, in the midst of a heavy snow squall and a series of massive rogue waves, the Fitzgerald vanished from the Anderson's radar. No distress signal, no survivors. The Fitzgerald sank suddenly in Canadian waters just north of Whitefish Point. Now in 530 feet of water, where it rests as a gravesite and memorial to this day.
And that was 50 years ago this past Monday. And I know, John, you have a lot of interest in this and a lot of knowledge on it. So anything you would like to chime in about, go for it.
Yeah, so there has not been a ship that's gone down since the Fitzgerald on the Great Lakes. Okay, before that, on that area, that's called Shipwreck Coast. If you've ever gone up to the Upper Peninsula between Munising and Whitefish Point, there's 550 ships that are down in there. Okay, and that was along in the 1800s, 1900s. Lake Michigan actually has the most wrecks, but most people don't know the most number of wrecks in the United States is on the Great Lakes, and that's, you see the Fitzgerald there. It was the largest ship on the Great Lakes, the biggest of them all.
Wow.
The Edmund Fitzgerald, he was a CEO of Omaha Mutual and Insurance. He said, I want that thing to be the biggest. I want it to have the best dining rooms. It's like the Kentucky Derby suites for the rich and famous was on the Fitzgerald. It was considered a treat to go up on there. So they went with 28,000 tons of iron ore, and they were trying to get there. They got one report when they left. That was their weather report. On the entire Lake Superior, there's only 9 weather observations. How many do you have now here on your area? Dozens and dozens.
I mean, so many, yeah.
They had like 9. They had that's McSorley right now. He was the most experienced sea captain on the Great Lakes. This was his last run. His wife was ill. He wanted to he said, I'm going to make one more run.
Oh my goodness.
I've already made my quota for the year. This will be bonus Christmas money. And 29. If you go to the Whitefish, the Great Sailors Cathedral Museum up in Whitefish Point, it says with the bell, there's 54 fatherless children.
Wow.
I mean, I was bawling.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I became into weather is because of that event. I did not want to see an event like that ever happen again. And they didn't get the communications. How is our communications today compared to 75? It's like we're in Star Trek.
Right.
Vast.
Much,
Pretty
much
much.
better.
We do live in the future.
We live in the future. They had nothing. They had like CB radios and FM radios. They
didn't
would
have
talk
the
shit.
phones.
No, they had no cell phones. They had
nothing.
nothing. They had absolutely nothing compared to today. And the Weather Service was updating the forecast slowly because they had one computer model. How many do we have now? Just a bunch.
Right.
So they
Things have changed. Yeah.
Right. Things were changing. And his goal was to get the Whitefish Bay and get out of the winds and dock for the night and put his anchors down. He was 17. If you listen to the song, he was 15 more miles behind him. He was 17 miles from getting there. The Arthur Anderson, the big ship you just saw there, and the great package, Matt getting that, is he said, there's a rogue wave that just hit me. I went up 40 feet. It's coming to you, McSorley.
40 feet.
I can't even imagine.
That's
I want
something
you to
that
think.
That's ocean stuff talking.
you can't wrap your mind around.
No.
on Lake, and to be in the middle of Lake Superior now, I don't know what sort of connections we would have, cellular or otherwise. Even back then, during a storm, there is no communication.
There's nothing. And the thing is today I learned this. We had on my the Weather Brains podcast, we talked about this, is if there are waves forecast to be 20 foot, everyone doesn't go out. That's just it.
Yeah.
Back then they said, we're going. End of
Right.
story, we're going, end of story. Now they're like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's not wise. We want to get home. We want to see our families.
Right. I learned a lot listening to that podcast and talking about just even the way the waves were coming in. It was basically perpendicular to the route that the ship was taking. So it wasn't, the bow or stern.
Right.
It was coming right onto the ship. I mean, they were taking on water.
Right, his fence rails were down. He was too loaded, and he had a list, which means the ship's going a little bit to the right. And the Anderson captain said he had as much as 12 foot on the deck at times.
Wow.
And they're only about 8 foot above the
Terrifying.
water, so that's too much. I mean, that's basic physics, kids. It's not good.
Yeah, hurricane force winds at times.
And the people that sail these vessels today, probably the hardest people on the planet, or at least in the country.
Yeah, it's really rough out there.
That is not for the faint of heart. And it's showbiz, a lot of it, but I have watched a lot of Deadliest Catch.
I was just thinking of that.
A lot, and a lot of it's showbiz. A lot of it was real, actual conditions they lived in, they worked in. I'm not cut out for it, and I'll just straight up admit it.
Yeah. But obviously there's a lot of information, stories out there that have been told by the surviving children and partners of those that were on the ship. Do you have any plugs in terms of where people can go to learn more information
Yeah,
on the
there's some
Edmund
really
Fitzgerald?
great resources. If you go to YouTube, just go to Steve Ackerman, type Steve Ackerman, University of Wisconsin. He does line by line of the song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and he goes through the weather and with the verses and the stanza of the song.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So go to that. It's very good. And listen to the song, which 90% of the song is true. The rest, and when Gordon Lightfoot found the errors in the song, people would write him all these hateful notes. He goes, "I'll fix that. I won't say that." Like it said, it was loaded to Cleveland. It wasn't loaded to Cleveland. It was loaded to Detroit, for example.
Oh,
Gotcha.
the more you know.
Wow.
And when they found the bell, I don't know how many years ago they found it. They had a big
Mid
ceremony.
90s, it was the 20th anniversary, so they had to sign a treaty between Canada and the United States just to go down there because Canada made that a
It's an
national
official
grave
grave site, so
Yeah, you
no
can't dive
diving's
there.
allowed.
Yeah. Anyway, they went and dove down because a lot of the family members said, "We have no closure. We have nothing."
Yeah.
Nothing. So they went down and got the bell. The bell was in bad shape. They power blasted, fixed it up at some auto shops, and you can see that at Whitefish Bay, the actual bell of the Fitzgerald.
Wow, look at that.
All right. Well, that was the one big thing this week. I know we could probably talk an entire episode on that.
I want to.
But obviously we had a lot going on here at home, and it's probably a no-brainer about
Those lights.
what the other one big thing was this week,
Wow.
the aurora.
great.
Obviously,
Look at that.
photos poured in from all across Kentucky and the country Tuesday night as the northern lights lit up the sky. We had a severe geomagnetic G4 storm. KP index above 8 at times Tuesday night. So the higher the number on that index, obviously the stronger the aurora, the farther south it travels from the poles, which is why we were able to see it here in Kentucky and southern Indiana. Very, very cool. And I know you said you went aurora chasing.
I did. So that was a lot of fun. And by the way, I'll just make this editorial comment. If you think forecasting snow is hard,
Oh, space weather is light.
Space is
I don't know. I don't know anything about
yeah,
space weather. and
way
I'm not
above my
afraid to
head.
Say that.
hey, look at all
I
these
know
weird
yay
stuff.
big,
Yeah, me
and
too.
like
We're together.
it's still just, I mean,
Unbelievable.
So all day Tuesday, we're like, well, it's not going to be that bad. Well, it might be that bad. Blah, blah, blah,
And then it
blah.
ramped up.
Yeah.
And then it ramped up big time. And look at
I
these
thought
pictures.
Wednesday was supposed to be the big
Yeah.
day, and then Tuesday ended up.
I mean, because you're trying to forecast a CME from the sun and how it's going to interact with our magnetic field, and are the solar winds the right direction?
mean-
And it's like,
And there's some
Science behind
distance
it
there.
I tried to read that discussion, and I couldn't read it. I'm like, apparently, I need some more brain cells.
well, you
Yeah.
know, it's a good thing to admit when you don't know about
don't know.
something, and that's why there were a couple times where I just shared the Space Weather Prediction Center's, like, they started doing video updates, which was great.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was really smart.
these are the experts, listen to them, they know what they're
They know what they're
talking about.
So I went chasing, and my friend John Belsky took me to
Oh,
a.
that's lovely.
That's where to go. Okay, I know where to go. So, folks, if you we know there's going to be a big storm, go to Dean Lake. There was no light pollution.
Yeah, that's a tricky
There
thing
were
about
like
Louisville.
70 cars on the side of the road on Dean Lake Road. I was stunned.
Wow.
There were that many people, and everyone was happy. No one was upset. There wasn't tailgating. Nobody was angry. Everyone was just looking up. Even if we saw there were
Maybe tailgating in a different way, having some,
It was.
watching some aurora,
Right,
having
yeah.
some brewskis.
It was just great. Look at that picture. If that doesn't make you happy,
I know. That's a unifying thing. It was so lovely to get on social media Tuesday night. All you saw were Northern Lights
Same.
photos.
Space.
Almost
That's
like
it.
Just, that's
Space
you just scrolling,
is cool.
scrolling. That's all you
That's
saw.
it.
no politics, no upset about football teams. Everyone
Right.
was
Every
happy. We were
meteorologist just
unified.
posting,
We are
yeah.
unified. Yeah, we have a few graphics in Max 1. Yeah, just showing kind of the K index and how here at home you usually want something above a 7, I would say, to see it this far south. Obviously, you can see it better in your phone camera. It's fantastic, the technology that we have these
Exposures.
days. Long exposures, night mode on your camera. So I know a lot of people were seeing those hues, but then it really is magnified with your camera or your phone. And obviously, we've had a few sightings here over the last couple of years. We're in a solar maximum. I know that much.
even
There's
know
a
what that
cycle there, and we're in a solar maximum, so you see more of these geomagnetic storms. That's about my knowledge on space weather. But that's why we've been seeing them more often here lately. And I think technology, too. Brad Panovich, I'm going to plug him.
Oh, yeah.
He had a good explainer a couple days ago.
He did.
About are we seeing more of these? Well, it's technology. It's also the fact that we are in a solar maximum. Everybody has social media and
have these.
phones these days. So yeah, you're just able to capture them better, and you're able to see a lot more of everybody's
And with them
photos
not
better.
being limited to such a small geographic space, you know, and a lot of the Arctic Circle's not really all that habitable.
Yeah.
If you want a lot
The
of
best
people there.
picture I saw anywhere, if you want to look at one thing, just type Montana Northern Lights. It'll pop right up.
Well, I can only imagine.
You'll
how
know
it
when you
over
see
there.
it.
In the Great White North, looking at
And it's
the
with
Northern
horses. There's horses.
Oh.
And there's amazing. I mean, every color of the aurora.
I'm sure that's beautiful. And rather than doing our typical weather trivia this week, meteorologist Matt Breland is actually going to explain some of the science behind the colors of the aurora. Matt?
We definitely had some excitement in our Kentuckiana skies for our Tuesday night. We had a rare occurrence of seeing the northern lights here in Kentuckiana. So how exactly do these auroras form and why do they travel towards us? Well, it all has to do with the Earth's magnetic field. The center of the Earth is solid iron, and so that creates a magnetic force that protects us from solar radiation, and there's a lot of charged particles that blast out from the sun constantly. The way these particles interact with our magnetic field produces the northern lights. So as they enter the atmosphere, the field is at their weakest near the poles. So those particles are able to get charged up in our magnetic field. And it's all about the atmospheric chemistry that brings us the colors. There's a lot of electrons that collide with different molecules within the atmosphere, and the resulting excitement from all those molecules interacting with each other produce all of these beautiful lights. So it all has to do with the atmospheric chemistry that produces the color. You'll see more of the pink shades in lower altitudes from the excited nitrogen, more green shades from excited oxygen in some of those lower altitudes, and then the blues happen from nitrogen in the higher altitudes, and the reds happen from the oxygen up in the higher altitudes. Since there's less concentrated oxygen in the higher altitudes, that's what allows them to create that beautiful red shade. So next time that you're checking out the northern lights, maybe we'll get lucky again and see them make their way towards us once again here in Kentuckiana. You'll know where the colors come from. That's it for what we can explain about how the auroras form.
Not only do the magnetic fields make pretty lights, also kind of the reason why life exists on Earth, or one of them. So thank you, magnetic fields.
Yeah, very important. We were just talking about how a lot of that was over our heads, but
Yeah.
they make pretty colors, and we
really
enjoy
do. That's all
that.
we
care about is just
Yeah.
They're unifiers.
They are. They really are.
They really are.
Now, something else that we had this week, we had our first hard freeze across the area, our first snowflakes as well.
It got cold.
So yeah, it did. And
Monday was raw.
Our segment this week for Ask the Meteorologist is about frost flowers. How do frost flowers form? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we do have some photos here. Ellen Stanley Sears always shows some great photos. And if you didn't know what you were looking at here, you might think it's like a cocoon of some sort.
Yeah.
But no, these are considered frost flowers. And there's a little bit that I know about this, and I'm going to let you all chime in if you know more. But they occur when the air is below freezing, but the ground is still warm. So the plant's still taking on water, and it's sucking that up through the stem. But as it interacts with that colder air, you know, when water freezes, it expands. It can break the stem, the water comes
Okay.
out,
That's
and
right.
then freezes.
That's
as
exactly what it is.
And a
I
very,
think that's a good explanation.
a very
Howard.
thin membrane probably around that ice.
And people actually go hiking looking for them.
Yeah.
There's a group down Bowling Green that goes out every year, and they've invited me. I'm like, God, do you know how early I have to get up to come down there?
And like, what if I accidentally step on it? Like, yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. But they are really cool. Thank you for sending those pictures in.
It's a really nice
Yeah.
We usually, this is like one night a year, unless that one area doesn't get hit, a couple other areas, but it's only 1-2 nights a year.
Because you want those perfect conditions of like that first freeze, the ground's still warm, a little bit of moisture as well. So those are called frost
I had never
flowers.
heard of them until I moved to Kentucky. So listen,
This is
this
my
old
first
dog
week
learns
here,
things
yeah.
too, right? You always are learning things.
Yeah, and once again, if you ever have a weather question you want answered, if you have photos that you want us to explain like this, feel free to send them our direction. You can text your questions to 502-582-7290. Once again, that number is there on your screen, 502-582-7290. And your question may be answered on an upcoming episode of Whether or Not. Now that segues into obviously our next topic, which could have been our one big thing this week if we didn't have the northern lights.
Yeah.
You know, we had temperature swings, we had snowflakes. Thankfully, the snow wasn't super impactful. It was just kind of snow globy.
We were very fortunate.
Looked
Yeah.
out the window a couple times. Oh, it's snowing. Cool.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that conversation
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it wasn't sticking, at least
We
where I was.
really lucked out. Northern Indiana got over a foot.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have, okay, I know you put this video together.
Yes.
Is this from you
So
in Radcliffe?
Yeah, that's from Radcliffe. So I went out for the shows. What was that? Monday morning, I think.
Yeah.
Monday
Yes.
morning, and I was basically chasing snow. You know how you chase storms? I was chasing snow. So I saw this little band of snow coming from Evansville area, and it was coming down to Radcliffe, E-Town area. So I was able to line it up perfectly. I was like, let's go. We gotta go.
Good for you.
Was able to line it up perfectly, and we got this nice little band of snow that rolled through, and honestly coated the ground pretty quickly. So it was some pretty heavy snow rates really quick around
And
the
that's
city of
obviously
Radcliffe.
not here.
That's not
Definitely
here.
not here.
That's
That is the
Northern
Great
Indiana.
Lakes.
Yeah.
The thing we have a group text I just sent. I worried about the visibilities. Those are the type
Yeah.
of events where the visibility can really go down quick and people are going way too fast on the interstate. And fortunately, I heard there was a weather-related fatality near on Dixie Highway 31 going out to Fort Knox. So they probably hit that band.
Honestly, I think I did see that. Honestly, I think I did see where the incident was. So yeah, I didn't realize that was
This was a visibility problem event in a few places. Most places it was conversation.
Our first nice flurries of the year, and pretty much right on time. And thankfully, we're not seeing a repeat of this week in weather history in 2018. Very recent weather history. I wasn't here. I'm sure, John, you can chime in a bit more.
Yes.
We're going to take you back to 2018. We had a November ice storm. So I'm going to read about the summary of this and we can talk about it. But basically, we had a cold air mass in place combined with a strong low pressure system. Produced an early season freezing rain event across Kentucky and southern Indiana. Many locations received between 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch of ice, accumulating on trees and shrubs, other elevated surfaces. Warm ground temperatures kept most of the roads ice-free, but bridges had slick spots. And obviously, a lot of the trees still had their leaves because it's early season, so that can really weigh things down. Can cause those limbs and branches to snap, some trees to fall. Power flashes overnight, and at the peak of the event, over 100,000 customers were without power in the region.
Yeah, not good. That was okay, so Mallory just said the most important part. The leaves were still on. Okay, so you have more weight, more accretion from the ice, and you got all those leaves. I mean, myself, I have 2 large oak trees in front of my house. I spent $1,000 to get those all cleaned up. I had a mess and a half on my hand, and so did a lot of others. And okay, so ice storms, worst thing of all. Doug Profit's worse than snow. So
I hate ice storms.
Ice
yeah.
storms. I told
fun.
the mayor one time the only thing I like in ice is in a margarita. I hate ice. So the one thing I'll tell you that's overrunning, what Mallory just said. So you have a cold air in place, so it's sub-freezing, and then you get this warm air that comes up and over in the lowest couple thousand feet, and nothing good comes from this.
Yes.
Power, use 100,000 people, power, and a lot of tree problems.
Yeah. And I know you said like 10th of an inch. You know, I kind of explained to people what exactly it means. When you think of 10th of an inch, they think snow, but like, think about like how much ice even
is
that can
so
cause so many problems, even
heavy.
just a 10th of an inch of ice.
And UPS had to spend a ton of money on ethyl glycol, which
De-icing.
is de-icing
the
fluid,
planes, yes.
Oh,
and
good
that is
point.
not cheap. So one of their 747s at Louisville International, it costs 10 grand to de-ice that sucker.
And you have to de-ice it. Ice is the worst thing
Worse.
you want.
Sleet, they actually told me
in terms
sleet
of
is worse,
flying.
but sleet and freezing rain.
Well, accumulating ice in general,
yes,
bad.
not
That's
good.
bad news.
It's just not a good thing. And that was one of the earliest ice storms I've ever seen.
Wow.
We have a few Max 1 graphics. I don't know if, Will, you can take those, but in terms of, I guess, Matt, you found these. This is what the radar looked like, or this was a future
Yeah, so
cast
this was
for the forecast?
Snapchat. Yeah, this was the snapshot. I think the Futurecast day before this event happened, and you could tell the
We don't like pinks.
No, I don't like
Never
that.
like pinks.
No.
That's a rough
Never
looking radar.
good.
That was the WHAS forecast there, and then we also have some, I believe, some ice totals in terms
Yes.
of what we saw across the area.
Look at Jasper.
Inch
Inch
of ice.
That's terrible.
You can't make a snowman in that.
Oklahoma got some, yeah.
I mean, a quarter of an inch can be pretty crippling.
Yeah, the one we had in 09, everyone probably remembers the 09 February disaster. Western Kentucky got 2.5 to 3 inches of ice. That's the record of all.
Oh, my gosh.
But 1 inch is devastating. Anything over a quarter, the Weather Service issues a warning when we have ice storm warning for a quarter inch or more. 1 inch, not good in Jasper and Du Bois and Santa Claus for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was this week in weather history, very recent weather history. November of 2018, we had an ice storm here in Kentuckiana.
Crazy.
We're going to round out this episode with some viral videos this week. And I know, Matthew, you found a lot of these, so I'm going to let you intro them.
Okay, yes. So this was something that I saw, I think, either earlier this week or over the weekend. A deadly tornado, pretty rare for this area, actually, tore through the state in southern Brazil, killing 6 people and injuring at least 750. So local authorities said the governor described the tornado as unprecedented and a catastrophe in history of this state. Winds may have topped 250 kilometers or 155 miles per hour, according to the state's meteorological service. So the tornado affected approximately 90% of the residences in commercial buildings. And I did see another quote that most of these buildings you see right here will have to possibly be torn down just because of the structural damage that this area did receive.
Rated at F4.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I mean, it was at night. So if you watch those videos, Matthew's right, watch those videos. It was at night. And
I hate tornadoes and I hate them at night. Even.
Yes, that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Our next viral video
Yes,
is a volnado.
Volnado. So
Kilauea.
I learned a new
if
word.
you've ever seen the show Stranger Things, this might be a scene out of that. Yeah, this is a volnado. A volnado was spotted near Hawaii's Kailua volcanic eruption. Video shows lava shot up over 1,000 feet in air from Hawaii's Kailua volcano on Sunday. The impressive eruption was accompanied by a volnado, or a tornado-like swirl of dust and ash caused by a contrast between the heated air near the lava and the cooler ambient air.
And that's things ejecting things out. You do not want to, that's what people try to get closer and closer. If you go to Hawaii, they want to get closer and no, you really
to the
don't.
Eruptions.
I've seen a lot of things in my life, never seen that.
I would love to see, I would love to see it in person. I don't want to get close to where the earth is literally open.
Yes.
An open wound in the earth.
Not good.
Creating more land.
Volnado.
I
Great
like
videos.
dormant
Well done.
volcanoes
Yeah.
personally, but volnado.
Volnado.
I learned a new word.
Yeah.
Wow.
But all right. I think that's going to wrap things up for us this week,
Great
guys.
show.
Very great show.
We talked about the Edmund Fitzgerald 50th anniversary. As we mentioned, there's a lot of places that you can get more information on that. Tons of resources, tons of stories talking about the 29 lives lost.
There are
50 years
documentaries,
ago.
both good and probably not so good on YouTube. You can find there's hundreds of them. So.
Yeah, and Aurora keeps sending us your pictures, your weather photos, your videos anytime.
Questions.
And obviously your weather questions as well. But thanks again for joining us for episode 8 of Whether or Not, and we will see you back here next time.